Hey, welcome everyone to the Melbourne Live Show. Today I want to share with you three books that shape the way I think about digital business, and I think you will greatly benefit from these three books as well. In case you have not um, exactly subscribed to my channel, this is the time where I would like you to click on the button to subscribe to the channel and follow along in terms of the sharing that I have. Now, what's going to happen here is that we're going to go through a series of sessions, and these are what I call catalytic courses. And these courses essentially are to equip you with the knowledge, with the skills, as well as the provide you with the tool sets in order to help you build your digital business. So the key idea here is to build this one person, 1 million whole digital business. And the reason why we want to do that is very simple because what we want to do is we want to choose a lifestyle that we want. And in choosing that lifestyle, we then look at how we can build a business around that lifestyle to support that lifestyle. As I mentioned yesterday, when I speak to some people, they say that that's being very selfish because when you create a business, it's about building a team. I disagree because I believe that when you talk about building a business, it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, for me, that is not my intent itself. And so, with that, let's get into today's show. In case you have not watched Monday and Tuesday's episode. Just a quick recap. Monday, we talked about the thinking of the difference between a conventional business and a digital business. And then on yesterday episode was essentially focusing on that idea of what is a framework to help us create this digital business itself. All right, and so today I want to share with you the books that I have read, and these are the books that kind of have an impact in terms of the way I think about digital business. So the first book that I would like to introduce to you, um, this book it's called The Art of Start. Right, so this is a book by Guy Kawasaki, and when I read this book, I think one of the key things that really struck me was that a lot of times when you read business books, I would say many of them have lots of fluff in them. You get a lot of stories, you get a lot of high level concepts, but when it comes to actually a framework or strategies to help you implement this is few and far between. And I've been following Guy Kawasaki for a while now, and I've always enjoyed his talk, and I've always enjoyed his courses as well. And so when I saw the Art of Start 2.0, I definitely wanted to get my hands on it because I want to learn in terms of how you can actually do things in a startup context itself. All right, so there are few chapters here that I would want to give you a glimpse of it. So um, so he essentially talked about looking at creating a business from a startup uh, point of view. Now, of course, for us, we take whatever we think is necessary that is going to be able to help us pursue our quest, and then we ignore the rest, right? And so the whole idea behind this is that we want to be able to take what is relevant to us and ignore the rest. So the one that I found that was really, really crucial was the art of starting up, because that's where he talks about how you come up with ideas and how you think about creating the business itself. The other chapter that I found to be really, really interesting and really helped me a lot is the art of launching as well as the art of bootstrapping. Now, as I mentioned, for us, we are a one-person business, and so many of us would not be looking at taking investor money. Why? Because when you have an investor, like I mentioned yesterday, when you have an investor, what it inevitably means is that you will then be required to comply and report to the investor. That's not what we want, right? At least that's not my preference itself. And so, when it comes to fundraising, that's not something that I am particularly keen on. However, what I like about that chapter was it enabled me to think like an investor. Because sometimes when you are talking about your business, it can get very passionate, it can get very personal. And so you tend to defend everything. And what I like to do is I will get excited over the idea. But what I would also love to do is to take a step back and look at it from the point of view of an investor. And from there, it really gave me a better sense of um, how I should be looking at the business itself. Right? And so this is a great book, and I would highly recommend that you check it out. You can check it out in the library itself if you're not into buying books, right? In fact, that's one of the books that I have done is I essentially checked it out from the library. And so, this is a great book. It has lots and lots of tips. Now, just to give you a sense of how practical this is. The chapter that I like is the art of eventualizing. As you know, I've always seen myself as an evangelist. And so, as an evangelist self, the key idea here is that I want to be able to spread the good news. So, I do not like the term influencer. I do not like the term thought leader. But what I like is, it's something that I have experienced and I find that it is good. And I want to share the good news with all of you, right? And so, as you can see from his first paragraph, that evangelisms come from the Greek word that means, approximately to proclaim the good news, right? And essentially, the good news is about if I find something that is truly, truly great, I want to tell you about it. Okay, and that's my perspective itself. So in this chapter itself, it gives you a framework, and that's what I like about books like this. And the framework is a dicey. So it says that when you talk about the product, a great product is a product that is deep, right? It has features that people anticipate, as well as features that people may not anticipate itself, right? So as an example, so of course this can apply to both products as well as services. So for example, today I was facilitating an online session with a small group of managers, and they were looking at how they are able to use social media to reach their audience. And so one of them actually was so one of the exercise I taught the participants to think about what are some content that they can come up with for social media marketing. And immediately, people start talking about what are the obvious things. So for example, one of the ladies say that, well, we want to attract um, potential candidates to consider this particular field of work as a profession, right? And so the type of content they think about creating would be, the prospect of this profession, questions that people ask about this profession itself. And that's where, and then she stopped there. And that's where I kind of dive deeper into it. And so I answer the question, I say that, well, these are the questions that your potential candidates will be asking out loud. But what are some of the questions that the candidates will be thinking but may not be verbalizing? So this is what in system thinking we call the left-hand column. That means it's something that is inside our head, but we are not exactly articulating that. So what would that look like in your context itself? So those are some of the things that you would really want to consider, right? So okay, so that is deep. And then, of course, a product has to be intelligent. It has to have insights into how it ease people's pain and increase their pleasure, and then complete, right? A product needs to be complete. It needs to think about end to end, right? It cannot be just a product that kind of handles one touch point itself. It has to think about the entire experience, right? A great product is empowering, and also a great product is elegant. So when you think about evangelizing, you want to be able to use this as a framework to kind of think about what you want to say, how you want to present the product or this thing that you are evangelizing. Can you go deep? Can you, bring out the intelligence of it? Can you talk about how complete this product is? Can you talk about how this service empower people? And can you talk about how this product is actually elegant? It's not just functional, but it's also well designed. All right, so this is the Art of Start 2.0, something that you might want to consider. The other book that really have a great impact for me is this book called Maximize Your Potential, and is actually curated by the folks at 99U. 99U, in fact, has been acquired by Adobe, and so 99U right now does not exist anymore. But in any case, here's one topic that really kind of shaped the way I think. I kind of affirm that I'm not a crazy one. So the backstory behind this is that I've always wanted to start a business to support the lifestyle that I want. I was never, ambitious in the sense that I want to create a multi-million dollar company with thousands of employees and hundreds of locations around the world. That wasn't my intent. And so whatever I've been doing, I've always been looking at what is it that I could do, something that I'm passionate about, and yet at the same time, it kind of pays me handsomely. And so when I think about that, I then realize that that's not how most people think. And for a moment, I thought, wait a minute, is there something wrong with me? Why am I thinking like that where other people are not? And and so that kind of led me down this path of questioning if what I'm doing is actually the right thing, because people around me, no one is doing that. And so, when I read this book, and particularly this article itself, I was greatly affirmed by the point of view that has been shared in this article itself. So this article basically, what it was talking about is that it gave an example of a particular individual. And this individual is Bill McKibben. And so Bill McKibben is actually an author of a book called The End of Nature. And if you look at where Bill McKibben is at a point in time, you say, wow, he is living the ideal life, because he he essentially lives up in a cabin, and in that place is where he wrote this really important book about environment, right? And sometimes what we see is that that's the kind of That's the kind of work that we want to do in order to be able to live that kind of lifestyle. And to your surprise, actually, that way of thinking, while is the norm, is actually backwards. Because how often do we look at this is the work I do so that I can have this lifestyle? And even if you think that this is the work that you do in order to have this lifestyle, it's probably something that after a while is going to get to you, and then you would want to have a change of environment itself. So the key point here is really not about looking at the work in order to have a lifestyle, which is why my idea of this one person, 1 million whole digital business, it's about this idea of let's design the life we want. Let's imagine that you have, the LFT freedom. You have location freedom. You have intellectual freedom to pursue whatever you want. You have the financial freedom, and you also have time freedom, right? You are unrushed, for example. And if you're in that state, what would your life look like? I think that's a very key question to ask yourself. And once we're able to answer the question, we're able to say, all right, I would want to wake up at this time of the day, I want to be able to do this, and then I would want to be able to do that. Um, and that's the life that I want. And once you've decided that, that's the life that you want, of course, it's the key idea here is to really try living it. Because sometimes you may think that that's the life you want, but until and unless you try it out, you may then realize that that's not exactly the kind of lifestyle that I want. For example, many people want to lead a lifestyle of a digital nomad, right? They want to be able to work from anywhere and travel around the world. That may sound like a great idea, but for some people, actually, that's not a very comfortable thing to do because some people have problem living out of a suitcase. And as an example, when we traveled during that 1 year itself with my family, we were so comfortable. I mean, people were asking us, isn't it tiring to pack, unpack, pack, unpack, pack, unpack, every other 10 days or so? And my response was essentially, actually, it was quite interesting because, well, I kind of enjoy it because I have kind of streamlined everything down to a process. So when we reach a location, these are the first few things that we will do. We will set things up so that immediately we are able to be functional. We are able to do our stuff like we can wash up, we can make a cup of coffee, we can make some drinks, we can make some food to feed ourselves, and then to wash up and then to rest, right? So I have everything spelled out in terms of the process itself. So everything is very organized. We know what to pack, we know what to pack first, we know what to pack last, and we know when to open which luggage and when to not open which luggage. For your information, we had 6 pieces of luggage during the travel itself, so it was a massive thing to handle, right? And then when it comes to packing up, right, what are the things to pack first? What are the things to pack last? What are things that you want it outside of the luggage, and what are things inside the luggage? So all this requires some kind of a streamlined process itself, so that everything could be packed and stuffed up nicely. Now, not many people enjoy this, the pack, unpack, pack, unpack thing. And it's also tiring for that matter. And so if that's not something that you enjoy, then at least you kind of know it. So my suggestion is if you are thinking about a particular lifestyle that you want, take a year or even at least 6 months and try and live out that lifestyle itself and see for yourself, is that something that you like? If that is something that you like, then at least you know that that is the lifestyle that you want. Now is to build a business to be able to support that lifestyle. And so this is the book that kind of gave me that inspiration as well as to give me the core idea of what I'm doing is actually not crazy. Now, there is this other book that I have. As you can see, these are the amount of books that I have, right? And lots of children's book as well. I guess I don't have it here because what happened was I actually. Uh, oh, by the way, this is the music service that I use. So if you want to you want to try it out, make sure you leave a comment below, and I also leave a link. It's a referral link, so if you do intend to sign up first, I get some kind of commission from there. All right. So the third book that I want to share with you is this book. It's called the $1 Million One Person Business. Now, to be honest, when I came up with the idea of the one person, 1 million old digital business, um, I didn't know the existence of this book. And so when I found out on Indie Hackers the other day, and I read that in the discussion that people were talking about this book, I had to check it out. And so what I did was instead of purchasing this book, I decided to see whether I was able to get it from my local library. And it turns out that I was able to borrow an ebook from the local library itself, which is really, really convenient for me. And so now I have the ebook on overdrive, and I've been reading the book itself. And so the the great thing with this book is that it tells you, the cliff note for this book essentially is this. It says that um, if you're thinking about this one person $1 million business itself, it gave you an example of what are some of the people who have actually done that, right? And in those examples, Elaine also gave you a spectrum of different kind of businesses that you can explore to build this $1 million one person business. So it ranges from things like brick and mortar, real estate, to something that is a bit closer to our heart, which is a digital business. So she gave an example of this guy who is actually fascinated with, uh, you know, planners, right? So like the planners that you have when you plan out what you are going to do. So this guy is totally obsessed with the planners, and he can't quite find uh, the ideal planner for himself. And so what he did was that he went out to design his own planner that is in accordance to his process and his workflow. And it turns out that, as he shares with his friends, the friends kind of get excited about it. So it's a little bit like the bullet journal story itself, if you're familiar with that. And so this guy then went on to uh, find someone who is a designer who is able to help him design the planner. And he also found a supplier to help him, print and ship those planners itself. And so one of the key, lessons, if you like, about that whole story itself is the following. When we talk about that one person, 1 million business, yes, although it's one person, but if you are just looking at one person to achieve that goal, it is going to be fairly, fairly difficult. So the way to look at it is as follows. If you are depending on you having to deliver the product or service in order to earn that $1 million in terms of annual revenue, it is going to be really, really tough because, like I mentioned to you on Monday, you will need to make 83,000 a month. And even if you're a hotshot speaker that you charge 25,000 per speech, you will have to do an upwards of 3 to 4 speeches every week, right? And of course, there are good years, there are bad years. Like this year is one of those years that you get speaking engagement being cancelled. But the point is this, right? If you are depending on you to be able to deliver the product or service, if you needs to be there to complete that transaction, then achieving this 1 million benchmark is going to be very difficult. So you need to build a team, you need to leverage other people, you need to leverage other suppliers to be able to help you achieve that goal. But that doesn't mean that you have to assemble a team of employees to help you do that. Okay, and so this is another great book. I would highly recommend, if out of these 3 books, I would highly recommend that you read this book, The $1 Million One Person Business, because truly, for some of us, it would really help you shift your mindset in terms of looking at this digital business, 1 person, 1 million, or digital business itself. All right, and so with that, what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna take off, and tomorrow I will actually want to walk you through a flywheel. So what exactly is a flywheel? Well, in a nutshell, it's a it's a series of steps that you take so that you are able to reach your minimum viable audience. And once you have that minimum viable audience and you have that flywheel in place, that is where your business will be able to automatically goes into autopilot so that it can start sustaining and creating the momentum that you need to hit your $1 million benchmark. Okay, so tomorrow I'll be sharing with you one of the flywheel of a case study of a flywheel that someone has done to achieve that milestone itself. So if that's what you're interested, make sure you subscribe to this channel or follow me on Facebook. And if this particular video has been useful to you, make sure you leave a thumbs up, and because that will really help, and that means a great deal to me as well. All right, and with that, thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you on the next one.